Live is up, right? Okay. We are up, so we will go ahead and get started so we can get you guys out of here. So, first of all, I will go over history of the Chamber, and then we'll you guys for introductions and questions. Okay. So, founded in 1889, the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce has been providing excellent service and building community for over 130 years. At nearly 1,200 members, the Fayetteville Chamber is one of the largest in the state of Arkansas, with members ranging from single-owner, home-based businesses to large-scale employers such as the University of Arkansas. The Fayetteville Chamber's mission is to serve as the leader and advocate for members to promote strong business climate and facilitate positive community interaction for continued economic development and to enhance the quality of life for all residents. The purposes of these candidate forums is to open a dialogue between political candidates that are running for offices and for the voters of Fayetteville. We believe by providing the opportunity for candidates to share their vision for the future of Fayetteville, we will help the community to become more informed and to and involved voters. And so thank you both for being here, and thank you all for being here as well. And to anybody who's tuning in live, thank you all. The forum is going to last about an hour. We might get out a little sooner, depending, but no more than an hour. Each candidate will have a 3-minute opening and a 3-minute closing. I will be keeping time, and I will give you each a 30-second warning as well. Candidates will speak in alphabetical order first for opening statement, and then reverse order. Since there's only 2 of you, we'll just flip-flop back and forth. Each candidate will have 3-minute response for each question, and no rebuttal after responses. So this is a forum and not a debate. First answer to each question will alternate between candidates, and again, I will be keeping time and give you a 30-second warning. So first, we will go with opening statements, and we will go in alphabetical order. So Kendra, we will start with you.
All right. Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much again for the invitation. I'm Kendra Moore, and I am blessed to call Lincoln my home. I've lived there for most of my life, graduated from high school there. After high school, I attended the University of Arkansas, where I received a bachelor's degree in business administration, and then went on to John Brown University and received a master's degree in business administration, and married my high school sweetheart, and we have 2 boys. Noah's 19. He's a freshman at Oklahoma State University. I get to go pick him up tomorrow and bring him home for the summer, so pretty excited about that. And Drew is our younger son. He's a sophomore at Lincoln. And so after college, I worked for a company that did consumer product marketing for about 15 years, and it was a smaller company, and so I was able to do all types of marketing there, from brand marketing to product marketing to business development and everything in between, and really learned a lot and just loved my time there. And as kind of a purist of marketing, it was a lot of fun. But I believe that life has a season, and there's lots of seasons to life. So that as that season kind of wrapped up, my husband and I had kind of had a side hustle over the years where we did spec homes. So we built and remodeled homes. And as kind of that season of product marketing ended, I said, would it be possible for me to go ahead and make this a full-time job? So that's what I did. The boys were very busy in activities, so it gave me a lot more flexibility in my schedule. So all the things that enticed me about being a small business owner, flexible schedule, get to be your own boss, all that great stuff, was true and fun for about 5 minutes after I became a small business owner. And then the reality hit in that small business is hard work, and it became a lot of P&L things and things I didn't have a lot of experience in, but quickly learned how those went. And if you know anything about being a small business owner, at least for me, there's been a lot of sleepless nights. You do have a flexible work schedule. It's 24/7, and you're trying to keep customers happy and lots of different things there. So I've been excited over the years to learn a lot about small business ownership and the things that come with that. And so with that, I've also served in a lot of different capacities in our small town. I've been on the school board for the past 11 years in Lincoln. That's been a real blessing, and had a lot of fun and exciting and a big learning experience there, and served on several committees. And so District 23 it's very important to me because that's who I am, that's where I live, that's where I do business, that's where I attend church, and so I'm excited about this opportunity.
Thank you. And Jim, we'll go to you.
First, I'd like to thank the Fayetteville Chamber for putting on this forum. I've always believed that an informed electorate is very important to our republic. And so I appreciate you guys putting this on. I am a conservative Christian candidate for House District 23. It's a new seat. I think everybody knows that. But it includes Greenland, West Fork, Prairie Grove, Lincoln, and a little bit of Fayetteville, and then the countryside all around that. So it's great to have a new district that's going to represent those small towns and a little bit of Fayetteville. I was on the chamber board for a couple of years, many years ago, so I understand what you guys are doing and appreciate what you're doing. I grew up on a farm near Town. I went through the Springdale school system, and I then graduated from the University of Arkansas with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Candace and I married towards the end of our time in school, and we've operated a small business ever since then. I have what I consider to be some good experiences that would help me be a representative. One of those is that I'm a Justice of the Peace for District 14, which includes Greenland, West Fork, and Winslow. I'm on the Finance and Budget Committee. We, I think, passed a nice conservative budget for the county, and so I think that's helpful. I'm also the Vice Chairman of the County Services Committee. Back a few years, I was the Director of Boards and Commissions appointments for Governor Mike Huckabee, and so in that capacity, I had to work with the legislature, primarily senators, concerning those appointments to the statewide boards and commissions. After that, I was the Chief of Staff to the Department of Health, Dr. Faye Bozeman, and in that capacity, I had to work with legislators on our priorities for the what we need legislation on. I've been 30 years in the trenches, or more than 30 years in the trenches, of trying to preserve conservative values in our county and our state. And I think that I've been more involved than a lot of people. I've supported and recruited many conservatives over the time period that I've been involved. I was a vice chairman. 30 seconds, okay. I was the first vice chairman of the Republican Party in Arkansas in the early 90s, and then I was the 3rd district chairman from 94 to 96. In 2019, I became the county chairman of the Republican committee here, and when I took over, we had 8 members who were Republican on the court, and when I left, we had 10. I think that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's time. Thank you, Jim. And we'll stick with you for the first question. So
Okay.
if you want to go ahead and tell us why you decided to run for the position.
Well, I just mentioned that I've been involved in the body politic for many years, and it's important to me to see that we have conservative values pursued and in place. You can look around our nation and see a lot of things that are going a different direction, like Seattle and Chicago and New York, places like that. And I don't wish to see Northwest Arkansas or Arkansas become like them. So I have taken a role for many years, and having this opportunity to serve in the Arkansas legislature, I think would further that.
Okay, thank you. And Kendra, same question. Why did you decide to run for the position?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot, and for me, District 23 is my home. District 23 is me. I live there, I do business there, I shop there, that's where my business is, that's where I raise my family. It's what's very important to me. And so as I begin to research and pray more about what a state representative does, well, it's a servant of the people. And that's what I want to do. I'm servant-hearted, and I love the people of District 23, and I want to give back to the people that gave so much to me. Like I said, growing up there, so many small businesses gave to scholarships and to fundraisers and teachers and coaches that poured into me to make me who I am, and of course, youth leaders and pastors that helped me understand what ministry is and being the hands and feet of ministry. So as I began to think and pray more about that, I thought, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be, is the voice for District 23. And to ensure, as Mr. Wilson said, to ensure that those conservative values continue to be part of the culture as the society and as these different towns continue to grow and will grow. You want to keep that core values of what makes those communities what they are. And any time that I would vote in Little Rock, that's a vote for District 23. It affects me just as much as it does them, because I'm an agriculturist, I'm a small business owner, I understand education, I'm a mom, I'm a Christian, so those things are very important to me. And of course, as I said, I have two small boys, or not small anymore, but two young boys, that I want them to see what servant leadership is about. And that's another motivating factor for me, to ensure that they see that these values are lived out every day and what it means to be part of the community and to support your community and to serve your community. And I hope their friends see that too. And so as the next generation comes, that they are motivated to serve in that same way.
Thank you, Kendra. We will stick with you for the next question. Describe your experience working within your community. What is your leadership style?
Yeah, so for me, in the community, I've served in a lot of different ways. As I said, on the school board, which has been just a wonderful experience for me. We try to teach our kids a lot about perspective. And so my kids were okay with staying at the Motel 6 until they stayed at the Hilton. Their perspective changed, right? And what that means is your perspective on the world changes. And so as my view on the world changed, my 11 years on the school board, we have 70% in Lincoln free and reduced lunch, which means that that's basically the poverty level of our school. And so as I began to understand more about that, more about our citizens, that became very important to me. My leadership style is definitely a servant leader. I try to listen first and, like Covey says, seek first to understand, then be understood. I've served on the Chamber in Lincoln on what we call a Friends of Lincoln board. It's a nonprofit looking for different ways for growth and development within our town, lots of different boards and things within our church. And of course, as a business leader, just again, when you own a small business, I don't think you can have any better leadership style than understanding how important your customer's voice is, how important it is to be sensitive to time, to be sensitive to what their needs are. And again, that I think are all valuable skills as a state representative and as a servant leader in the community.
Thank you. Jim, same question for you. Describe your experience working within the community. What is your leadership style?
Well, again, I currently represent District 14, and as such, we believe that our folks want to see taxes stay as low as possible and government as small as possible. And that is what I try to pursue as we work on the quorum court. I too listen to those who get in contact with me. I've been in touch with folks that have concerns about our county roads out in that area. It's a pretty rural area, and so it's been something that I've tried to pursue and tried to help them with as needs arise concerning county roads. And I too am very involved in our church and have been for many years. So we're very active in our church work and do all we can to serve the Lord there.
Okay, thank you. And Jim, we'll stick with you for the next question. Okay. What do you believe to be the largest challenge facing your district in the next 2 years?
Well, I think that there's an area that I would say would be a challenge, and it's one difficulty is how much a state legislator can do for it, and that would be infrastructure. In that the Highway Commission is responsible for deciding where the dollars go, but nonetheless, highways are important, or transportation is important in that area. If you've ever been out on Highway 62 in the late afternoon, you've probably noticed that there are a bunch of cars out there. And so anything that we can do to influence what happens on highway money, I think we should. But again, I realize that the Highway Commission is primarily responsible for that, so it makes it a little bit tough. The other thing that I am aware of that is a challenge for small towns is dealing with the cost of the infrastructure in the form of sewers and water. And so anything that can be done in that area to assist them would be helpful, I believe.
Thank you. Kendra, the same question for you. What do you believe to be the largest challenge facing your district in the next 2 years?
Yes, so I agree with Mr. Wilson. I believe a lot of it is infrastructure. A lot of it, as I speak with a lot of different citizens in District 23, water and sewer infrastructure seems to be a definite point of opportunity for our district. And, you know, the old saying, a rising tide raises all ships. So again, Lincoln, West Fork, Greenland school districts all have very similar issues, and that is student enrollment. So all three of those school districts have had a declining enrollment over the past 8 to 10 years. Prairie Grove has been very blessed. They've done a great job of making sure that their infrastructure can keep up with future growth. I think they've pulled somewhere between 200 and 250 new building permits for the past 2 years consecutively. But if there's not infrastructure, there's no water and sewer, then there can't be any development. If there's no development, there can't be any new homes. If there's no new homes, then there can't be any new students that attend school there. And so that continues to be a real issue with our school districts. Our superintendents constantly have to face this battle of student enrollment and budgeting and how we continue to invest in our future generation, make sure that they have all the resources that they need, but not only education, but as far as small businesses go, because that is the life's blood of District 23. So in order to ensure that small businesses are cared for and we have enough citizens to buy things there, that live there, that continue to increase our sales tax dollars, and then the whole circle continues to flow. So yeah, I would agree on that.
Thank you. And we'll stay with you for the next question. Where do you see your district after your term has ended, and what are your personal goals?
Yeah, great question. So of course, like anyone else, I want to leave it better than I found it. So for me, again, I want to be a great listener. I want to be a great servant. So as we continue to go out into the community and events like this, I know Lincoln has a great chamber, Prairie Grove has a great chamber. There are lots of opportunities to connect with people in West Fork and Greenland. As Mr. Wilson said, the district goes up into the Fayetteville area. Wheeler does a great job of investing in community. So being a good listener, understanding what the needs are, how those can be impacted. Like Mr. Wilson, I'm for limited government, trying to get government out of the way. A lot of times the towns, the cities know what's best for them. So trying to continue to encourage that, to make sure that I have great relationships at the state level to ensure that if there are any grants or different things available, that I would be the first that has the opportunity to understand those and see where we could apply those within the district. So I think that was all the questions, sorry.
Okay, thank you. And then Jim, same question for you. Where do you see your district after the term has ended, and what are your personal goals?
The smaller towns seem to be where a lot of people are going because of the cost in the bigger towns. And so I do think it's important to try to assist them in any way that we can so that they can have a good growth pattern in the smaller towns, because it's just going to happen. Whether anybody wants it to happen or not, they are going to grow. And so I think that we need to try to assist them and help them to do what they can to have a good way forward with their growth and so forth. I hope to do what I can to work with each town. I want to represent each town, not just one, and I want to assist them in every way that I can in being a positive future.
Thank you. And we'll stay with you for the next question. What kind of economic development projects do you hope that your district will take on within the next year?
Well, again, we talked about infrastructure a while ago, And so I think that anything that can be done to assist those small towns with infrastructure efforts, because of the growth that I expect to happen in all of them. I know a developer that's talking about trying to really do a lot in West Fork in the future. And so, we've just got to do what we can to assist and make sure that we have the opportunity to see the infrastructure improve so that as growth occurs, it can be rational and positive for each area.
Okay, thank you. Kendra, same question for you. What kind of economic development projects do you hope will take place within your district in the next year?
So economic development, I feel like, has kind of a different meaning to different people, but for me, it's very near and dear to my heart, being from Lincoln. And if you've at all been in the town of Lincoln over the years, the Big Apple Festival, you know that we have a town square. And so just like many downtowns across the state, across the nation, our downtown has kind of shriveled up over the years and a lot of empty, vacant businesses there. So as I became kind of passionate about that over the past couple of years, I talked my husband into letting me buy 7 buildings on the square there in Lincoln. And so I've tried to kind of tick those off a couple at a time. But that's very important to me because when we allow businesses and buildings to be reconstructed and habitable again, that gives people the opportunity to create small businesses, to have a home for those small businesses. And again, the rising tide illustration, as those buildings begin to fill up with small businesses, then there becomes what I like to coin commerce and community back on that square again. And what happens is people become one with the community again. Economic development happens within small businesses and people shopping and keeping their tax dollars there. Same thing has happened in Prairie Grove. Their Main Street is awesome. If you've ever been there, they've done a great job. West Fork and Greenland both have a ton of opportunity and would love to see a lot of growth there so that, again, the tax dollars stay within those communities and, again, the infrastructure continues to grow and continues to be part of the development in those areas.
Okay, thank you. And this will be the last question from me, and then we'll go to questions from the audience before closing statements. So Kendra, will stay with you. Describe your plans on communicating important issues to the residents of your district.
Yes, so communication to our district is very important. Again, our districts or our citizens within the district want to be kept apprised of what's going on. They want to understand that they're being listened to, that they're being heard. So for me, a lot of it is just what I do every day, is getting out into our community, shopping at Harp, shopping at the American Drive-In in Lincoln, spending time with citizens out and about. Love to do that same thing. I do that a lot in Prairie Grove. I go to the Ace Hardware a lot, go to Crescent's a lot. Same thing in West Fork and Greenland, and of course within the Fayetteville area, looking for opportunities to just have those group and one-on-one conversations with citizens. I feel like I do a great job in social media, would love to just continue to have citizens understand what's going on, and again, use that as a listening piece too, to understand what's important to them, and then, complete that communication circle when there is a question or a need that is followed up on, and making sure that might not always be the answer that they want to hear, but at least they know that I've heard them and that I've been able to complete that communication circle for them.
Okay, thank you. And then Jim, same question for you. Describe your plans on communicating important issues to the residents of your district.
I would intend to use social media to reach out to people and to receive information back from them, in addition to trying to be in touch closely with each chamber and each city council so that they have the opportunity to talk to me directly. And then, of course, individuals are welcome to visit with me about any needs. I do think it's important to follow up on things that come up, just as I have as a JP when road issues have come up. I've tried to help with those and make sure that a good response is offered or things are taken care of that should be done. So those are the ways that I would plan to interact with them.
Okay, thank you both. Before closing statements, are there any questions from the audience?
I'd like to ask you two questions. My name is Steve Clark. I'm the president of the Fayetteville Chamber. We really appreciate you participating. We know your district only has a small portion of our city,
Right.
but any portion is important to us, and therefore you are important to us. I want to thank you both for offering yourself before for public elected service, so you have a taste of what that's like. And thank you most importantly for offering yourself now for public service. The two questions are these, and you can take them in any order, but the first question is, have you signed any pledges for any issues? And the second question is, legislative work is about building coalitions. Do you have any thoughts or plans about how you coalitions that will include your fellow legislators on issues about either rural development, small communities, education, healthcare, any of those kinds of issues? Have you given some thought is what you might do or what kinds of those coalitions you'd like to be a part of?
Well, as for myself, I have not signed any pledges. I've told you my philosophy, which is to keep taxes as low as possible and government as small as possible. But that's my personal philosophy. That's not signing some pledge with some group. As far as coalitions go, I realize to get anything done, you have to have other people signed on board, because one representative is 1 out of 100, right? So you can't get much done with that. So I would intend to get to know my fellow legislators if I'm elected and work with them in every way possible to approach the things that fit what I think we should be doing. And that, of course, is going to be based on what I see our district, my district being. I've lived in this, what is now District 23 since 1978. I didn't mention that earlier. So I've been there a long, long time, and do try to pay attention to what my friends and neighbors and so forth think. But again, having to work with other legislators is extremely important, yes.
I also have not signed any type of pledges and agree with you. Teamwork makes the dream work. I've been on lots of different teams over the years, and, you know, as a little goober right out of college going into a pretty good-sized corporation owned by Hallmark, I learned a lot about teams and teamwork and how to work with people and the right things to say, and so I believe that I've got the skill sets to do that, and that would be very important to me as a state legislator, is to ensure that I make the right relationships. We had a saying, this really was used more as a sales training, but it was no trust, no help, no need, no hurry. So the first thing I always try to do is build trust with people, and once you can build that trust, then you can move on throughout the process. Then I can help you. Then, you know, you get in a hurry to work together, and then you're able to accomplish that end goal. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Again, thank you so much for running, and thank you so much for participating. The importance of this from our perspective to citizens of Fayetteville, but also to those in Washington County. And we too, as a chamber, do a lot with the communities that you mentioned, particularly in our regional leadership program, our teen leadership program. But it is the notion that this is being live streamed, and there will be links, and you'll be able to have access, as will future voters or our voters that will be participating starting next week and up until Election Day. And that gives them opportunity. So thank you for giving your time to give voters the opportunity to hear your expression of your goals and desires and principles, and your willingness to continue that dialogue. It means everything. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you both. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, sir.
My name's Nate Bell. I've only recently moved to Washington County about 2 years ago. Live out in the Sugar Hill area, for those of you that know where that's at. I'd echo what Steve said about public service. First of all, thank you all for being willing put your names on the ballot and to take that step. As someone who has spent some time there at the Capitol, I understand the task before you. And I came today specifically to ask one question, which is of great concern to me. As someone who really believes in civil liberties and values human rights, it's caused me a lot of concern what happened right here in Washington County, where prisoners in our county jail were given an experimental medication off-label. And that's tantamount to medical experimentation on someone who is in custody. What should the state do, if anything, to make sure that things like that don't happen again? And what would you do as a state legislator to take steps to make sure that we don't encounter similar situations in the future?
You want to go first this time?
Oh, sure. So for me, I don't claim to be the expert on political matters, on a lot of things that are within our district and things that have happened like that. But I do seek to find people that are the experts in those areas and learn a lot from them. So I think to your question, I first of all believe in Scripture that you were formed and fearfully and wonderfully made, and I believe all life is important. And so for me, just having a deeper understanding of that issue, and again, my number one priority would be the sanctity of human life. And so.
Is that it? Okay. It is my understanding that, when you're giving medical treatment, you're really supposed to discuss with the patient what you're doing. I don't have firsthand knowledge of what was or wasn't done in that regard, but certainly that is something that should be done in each setting, whether it's me going to my clinic or my doctor, or whether it's the doctor that we provide for the prisoners down there. And so that's something that I sure hope is done correctly if it wasn't this time in the future. I'm not clear, to be honest with you, whether it was or wasn't done that way this time.
Just if I might follow up, neither one of you really addressed what steps you believe the state should take regarding that, if any.
Well, I think that the state I think the state does require us to do our medical stuff in a certain way. If I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry, but that's my understanding. And so if that requirement is there, and if we mess up, then we've messed up. But if it was done that way, then we should, that's how it should be done.
Yeah, I believe that case is under,
It's still being litigated, so.
yeah, it's under litigation right now. I believe is what. Any other questions?
Thank you. I hate my two questions.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, we will go to closing statements. I don't even remember who we ended on. Okay, well, we open with Kendra, so Jim, if you want to
Okay.
do your closing statement first.
As
and
I
we'll
mentioned a
bring
while
us-
ago, I've lived in what is now District 23 since 1978. I grew up in Northwest Arkansas. This is my lifetime home. Every time I go on vacation, I go to places that I enjoy being, but when I come back home, I really am glad to be here. This is just the greatest place that I know of, and so I'm happy for that. Some of the conservative principles that I stand for and that I've worked for over the years, I know some of these it's kind of one side sees it one way and one side sees it the other way. But I'm pro-life, I'm for the Second Amendment, I'm for the freedom of speech and freedom of religion. In that area, I think we've seen government and big tech trample on some of those areas in the last couple of years. I mentioned earlier that I want to see taxes kept low and government kept as small as possible, mainly because I believe that if you earn a living, You want to decide how that money's spent, and you don't want someone else to take a bunch of it away from you and give it out the way they see fit. And so that's the reason I look at it, that we need to keep taxes low and government small. I believe in parental rights and education. I believe in property ownership being a bedrock with us. I'm for the rule of law, and I'm for law enforcement. You know, I'm against abortion. I'm against the ever-increasing taxation. Our tax bill this year compared to last year is considerably higher, and it's only because of reappraisal. So I don't like seeing taxes go up the way they do. I'm against the lawlessness and the defund the police movement that is going on in some places. I'm against the critical race theory being taught in schools. I'm against shutdowns and mandates, and I'm against boys playing in girls' sports, using their restrooms or their showers. And I think I would wrap up with that.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And Kendra?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I am District 23. I live there. That's where I do business there. That's where my kiddos go to school. It's where I attend church. It's where I shop and where I do business. And so, for me, District 23 is very important to me. The success of District 23 is very important to me. I'm not political. I'm not doing this for some kind of headline. I'm doing it because of service and because I truly love the people in 23 and I want to make a difference there. I'm a conservative Republican, very much the same values that Mr. Wilson has as far as I believe in the sanctity of life. I believe in the Second Amendment. And I believe that we have hardworking citizens in District 23 that want to keep the culture that they have worked so hard to develop over the past many years. And as growth happens, as change happens, as the world happens, they want to ensure that they have a trusted voice in Little Rock that will continue to fight for those values and will continue to fight for what they know is right and the way of life in District 23, and to continue that to be a thriving place for their children and grandchildren and generations to come, to be a wonderful place to live and do business and raise their families.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again so much both for being here and taking time out of your days. And thank you all to our audience for being here as well. And voting starts May 9th, so make sure that you guys get out there and vote. And best of luck to both of you on your campaigns.
Thank you.
Thank you.